Right, so I think this is my second time recording this because the first time they go through, I had my mic on mute. Haha, silly me. Right, anyways, I'm not exactly sure why I'm recording this, but I suppose it's mostly about me trying to work through my plans for the future. Concerning my degree, which is a degree in English literature and history. Right, so for context, I am a year two, well, yeah, year two students at what is called Nanyang Technological University in Singapore. Ooh, possessed demon, huh? But yeah. Um, so I'm just, sorry, it's about time I think I got serious about what I exactly wanted to do with this degree in my future, rather than have it bite me in the ass like 5 years in the future when I'm jobless and can't figure out exactly what I'm going to do with my time. Sorry, as an occupation. Ooh, wait, let me get this first. Anyways, right. So for my experience in NTU, I would say there's good ups and downs, ups and downs. I enjoy the lessons that I've been having. I enjoy it very much. Um, well, most of the history ones, I can't care. I don't really care that much for most literature modules, if I'm being honest. It is unironically, I think, like some of them are rather too woke for my liking. But there, whatever. God damn it, Pinky. Yeah, where was I? Yeah, I enjoy the experience of learning new things, of histories that I never knew. But things I don't enjoy, for one, the core modules. No one cares about the core modules and regards them as a burden. And honestly, they're right. It is the burden. What even is the point when they add so much to our already overburdened plate? No one knows. God knows. It is incredibly dumb. Incredibly dumb. But I think what I don't like even more is like the lack of seriousness with which my batchmates or coursemates seem to approach history, or basically their studies in general. Like, I think, maybe I'm deluded, but history is important. The study of history is important. It is how we make sense of our future. You know, there's always a reason why we interpret a particular history a particular way, because it guides our actions in the present, as in towards what end are we directing our efforts in the present to achieve some future in alignment with our idea of the past. That's why governments care about it. That's why religious communities care about it. But most people here don't seem to care that much about that. Was I deluded for thinking that people would take this as seriously as I do? Probably not. No, actually, you know what? I am. Probably I am. I probably am. I tend to overthink this kind of things. But it still bothers me. Aside from that, right, what was I here for? What exactly I'm gonna do with my history degree? I've had some sense that I hate marauders. Like, god damn. Yeah, I have had some inkling of what I want to do. Seriously. Yeah. which is something to do with like the relationships between the Middle East and Southeast Asia. Because I'm Malay, and the Malay community being majority Muslim has very close ties, or rather, thinks very much of the Middle East, and intellectual currents there often get spread to this region from there. Intellectual, social, political currents, all the way from there to here. So we have, I mean, aside from the usual terrorism stuff, like Islamic reformism and whatnot, there is also Ottoman interventions in Aceh. There's what else is there? Um, relationships between the sultans and the ulama, that is a scholarly class from those regions. Um, and so on and so forth. I don't know. I don't know why examples are failing me right now, but there are plenty of examples like that. And I think because, for one, I don't think there's that many Malay historians. I can't think of many in Singapore in particular, and none that I can think of with expertise in Arabic. I th- there's a dearth, no, no, a gulf, I think, between what's in the records and like all the possibilities that could be explored in the records and what has actually been published. Because most scholars working in this region, on this region, tend to be either Chinese or European or some mixture of the two, and so they tend to focus on, yeah. What do they tend to focus on? Yeah, the Sinosphere, and the Brits, the Europeans, and often sometimes the Americans. For example, well, not for example, but I'm just thinking of the visit of one Confederate cruiser here somewhere in 1864, 63 or 64 something. Yeah. How is it not dead? Yeah. But not so much the Middle East, except maybe in the case of the Sepoy Rebellion. Hmm. So I think there is a lot of possibility over there to be discovering new connections, new, you know, my god, not another Marauder. Seriously? Yeah. Yeah, new relationships, new, um, relation, like, I guess, connections, basically, that we've never seen before, that have yet to be explored. Like I guess a couple of examples that I'm thinking of include like the absorption, not just from a linguistic standpoint, I suppose, but like the absorption of like Arabic and its place as a sacred language in Malay culture from the past till now. So, for example, let's go to the what is often called the Malay Annals or the Malay History, Sejarah Melayu, or the actual Arabic title Sulalatus Salatin, which, if we actually translate it properly, means progeny of the sultans. Sulala is a collective noun for descendants, that is progeny. It is the equivalent of progeny. So why it's often translated as a history is beyond me, because I don't think it set out to be a history. But yeah, and it often sorry, because I have a copy of the Sulalatul Salatin in my library, and I've read it, and there's often this str- like Arabic invocations that seem rather gratuitous, aside from the usual obligatory prayers for the Sultan, stuff like, for example, we mentioned a poor person, a fakir, الذي مركب على جاهلي, like who is fixed upon his ignorance. Why the use of it there, and how did, and in a wider sense, how did all of this get absorbed into Malay vocabulary? You know, and other such questions like that. Um, Another one, like perhaps the histories of the different religious bodies. Not doesn't have to be Malay, but like based in the Middle East, I would say, and interconnections between there and here. I'm thinking, for example, the Sepoy Rebellion. Surely there must have been some, scholarly support, not support, but like either condemnation or interpretation or some stand on that particular revolt. There must have been something. It was quite a big thing, and I've seen um, Singapore history books like that of C.M. Turnbull mention something along the lines of how Singapore was kind of a center of Muslim reformist thoughts. It's kind of ironic that I'm talking about all of this while playing this, because my skin is actually that of a crusader. Like Doomslayer, and I was dressed in a crusader outfit. So there's that. But yeah, also like other things, like maybe they said something about World War I or World War II. Surely there must have been something. S- And I think there was also therein mentioned a how a newspaper that would often report on affairs in the Middle East, or at least take some of its reporting from Kyrene newspapers. Might have been Turnbull, but I saw it somewhere. Did they write something that no one has investigated and no one has found till now? Did they? Who knows? Right. So many possibilities. But and I think this is underexplored because of two reasons. Oh, have I mentioned them already? You know, I think one, like the dearth of Malay historians in general in Singapore, and Malay historians with knowledge of both Arabic and Malay. There's got to be something out there. Yeah, I don't know. But I think I've got to have a plan other than that. I'm not even sure if it's viable. I'm not sure if anyone cares about that much about this sort of history. I do. I do. but does anyone else? Is anyone willing to pay me for it? Is it going to be in demand? Yeah, eat that grenade. Um, but is anyone like? Is there demand? I doubt it. You know, most histories are like most research in this area tends to be focused on connections with one of the three great powers of this era. So but not so much the Malaysia or like you know the Middle East or stuff like that. I haven't seen any history that like I have taken this class in Islamic history. I'm pretty sure I was the only one who really cared enough to like study to search the meaning of Arabic words and whatever, and to try and connect it something to contemporary affairs in the Malay world. But that I mean I think that's just Malay life here. I'm pretty sure there's a whole bunch of academics in Malaysia who would kind of be thrilled to have me on. But I mean I don't speak much Malay, unfortunately, so I've got to improve on that. I'm not I'm not I'm not by any means, you know, not like fluent in it. I can speak it, but being Singapore being Singapore, yeah, there are not many opportunities to speak Malay, other than I guess to your, as in like proper Malay, not as we say Malay Pasar, Bahasa Malay Pasar, uh, and to use it in actual formal communication. Most people don't do that. Um, it's a Chinese majority country. It is what it is, and unfortunately, it's also become rather quaint of a fashion amongst Malays here. I should imagine. I mean, I think I'm an example, but certainly it didn't set out to be that way. If the further you are up in the educational hierarchy, the less Malays you encounter, and that is especially true in university. It's a sad state of affairs, but we make do with what we can. So I gotta improve on Malay basically, and I've gotta improve on my Arabic. As of now, I think I'm mostly just I'm still an intermediate learner. I can read news reports, like unvoweled news reports. My God, not an order. Yeah, I can read unvoweled news reports and listen to news broadcasts and understand them. Some of it, but I am not by any means. Where was I? I have no idea. But yeah. But aside from that one incredibly specific career ambition, which I'm not even sure anyone really cares about other than me, I'm kind of clueless as to how I should proceed. I've thought about going back to becoming a teacher, but given the conditions of both the private and public sector, I am not too keen on that particular pathway. So, what with it, Singapore being Singapore, and conditions being what it is in the workplace here. But I think there's only so much I can plan ahead, and I have time. I have time. So I'll just have to keep thinking about it. But in the meantime, I have to, you know, take my studies even more seriously, I think, and cogitate, basically. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you to whoever's listening to this, because I don't think anyone is. But if you happen to stumble across this, my thanks for listening to this little rant slash I don't know, monologue thing, and peace.